AITA for telling my GF that she is no fun anymore. My GF and I have been dating about 2 years, and when we originally started dating she had a typical lifestyle. Drinks on the weekends, smoked a little weed now and then, and ate out a few times a week. About a year ago and she diagnosed with PCOS and was devastated by the diagnoses. She began looking for ways to treat it, but there doesn't seem to be any cures, only treatments. So she went of the deep end by cutting out all alcohol, no more weed, no sugar, low carb diet. Very strict, and she started working out, mostly heat and yoga 4 times a week. Her ovaries were looking better from the latest scan, so she is convinced she can heal herself by fixing up her diet. Problem is she is taking it way too far. She won't allow herself a cheat day, and she brings her own food even to friends' house. She won't drink even a little, even at friends' wedding, and it's annoying because she has started preaching health every time I asks her about her changes. She is always telling me about the latest diet and exercise things she found out about that she thinks will help her PCOS. We can't go out for dinner anymore because we either go to the same healthy food spot we have been going to all year, or she wants to cook at home. She doesn't want to go to the bar anymore or really go out and party anymore, and that was a big thing for us before her diagnoses. I got annoyed one day when she wouldn't eat what my parents were cooking when we are visiting, and was bringing her own lunch, and told her she wasn't fun anymore. I mean it, she was so chill before, and how she has gotten so serious about everything now. She got upset and yelled at me for not caring if she can have children or not, and stormed out. AITA. Redditor's reactions. Story 2 after. Redditor 1. How dare she prioritize her health and well-being over your need to have a laid-back, alcohol drinking, weed smoking cool girl GF AITA. Redditor follow-up. This is exactly what I was thinking. I can't believe he really wrote this out and didn't realize he's TA. Redditor 2. So you preferred when she had a health problem that she wasn't managing, just so you could smoke a blunt and eat a burger. AITA. If it's that much of a problem for you, just break up with her so she can find someone who supports her health needs. Redditor follow-up. You forget about the drinking. Imagine having to deal with someone who actually thinks she is fun without alcohol, and can enjoy parties without alcohol. And even more horrifically, you gained a free chauffeur who can drive you safely home when you have been drinking. The horrors. Redditor 3, AITA. While I understand your frustration at the lifestyle change, if drinking with her, going out to eat with her, etc. are such important things to you, maybe it's time to communicate that and potentially end the relationships, so that she can find someone who can support her in her new lifestyle. Telling her she's not fun anymore while she's managing a chronic and painful condition is a shoal move, and yes, if she does not manage it, it can affect her fertility. Edit. May I also add, how would you want her to react if you were diagnosed with something that required a change in lifestyle? Would you be okay with being told you're not fun anymore, as if those fun things take priority over her health? Redditor follow-up. Without jumping to assumptions here, men don't have the best track record of taking women's health seriously. I can easily see a similar situation play out if he was diagnosed with an illness that required a lifestyle change, because that would be a real disease, not just PCOS. Story 2. D-Day was today. Never thought I'd be here. My fiancée 24F and I 28M have been together for about 5 years. After months of her seeming annoyed, distant, and somewhat secretive with her phone, I say somewhat because of the times this has happened to me before, she hid things very well. I finally prayed it out of her today that she had a one-night stand with a co-worker, unprotected, in the back of a ducking car. To say I'm devastated lacks justice. We have a son who turns 1 tomorrow, and he's the light of my life. I'm so terrified of what his life will be like not ever knowing how his parents were when they were together. To make it simple, I'll lay out some things that I have done. I had already had a hunch something was wrong for so long I had terms of reconciliation already made in case that's the route I wanted to go. She left for half the day and I told her to come back so we could attempt to see if she was willing to put in the work to try and salvage our relationship. The terms were: 1. She personally calls the AP's wife and tells her what happened. 2. She tells her mother and father what she did to me and our family. 3. She has spyware placed on her phone until I feel that it is no longer necessary. 4. She cuts contact with AP and any other men she may be talking to. I know of one she casually talks to but recently found out. 5. She is to do one of the following: a switch shifts completely to avoid contact with AP, find a new job, C switch departments completely. 6. She will explain, in detail, what happened leading up to and during this affair. She will be honest and truthful about any other affairs, and if there is any hint of trickle-truthing or dishonesty there will be no reconciliation. She read the letter and terms and said she wouldn't do the first, didn't want to feel like she was in jail, etc. I told her the terms were non-negotiable. I will wait for an answer from her tomorrow before I start looking into what needs to be done for custody of our son. It needs to be said that I really do love this woman. Beyond words, I am hurt and angry. I kept my cool through this entire process, which was hard, but I did. She accepted that what she did was wrong, but I just don't feel remorse yet. It's really hard to say, but I feel like she was too scared to leave, so she did this to make me force her out. I'm having trouble not focusing on the thoughts and images of another man with her. I don't know him, but I did find his Facebook, and to say he is far more cut and built than I am is an understatement. I feel so less than, so much so that she doesn't know yet that I may not ever bring myself to touch her again because I feel I will always be in the shadow of the night she threw it all away. I guess if anyone here can help, I'd appreciate it. Any advice is also appreciated. Redditor's reactions, story 3 after. Redditor 1, seems like you did a good job in laying down the guidance for reconciliation. She chose to cheat on you and your son, so it's in her hands for reconciliation. Don't waver, stick to your plan. Redditor 2, your terms are clear and well thought out. But keep in mind that they are a minimum. Her desire for reconciliation and healing has to be genuine. If not, then the relationship doesn't heal. Redditor 3, all I can say is let her do first the very one that she is very scared to do. Then add to your list that she needs to confess this to both of your parents and apologize for what she did. Her reputation is very important to her, so make that as your guide to test her. She had unprotected encounter with AP, so you can accept it now, no matter how hard it is that he unloaded it all inside her. If she tells you he didn't, that's a pure lie, don't fall for it. Include in your condition that her sin has given birth to your free pass to have another girl open relationship on your part only. You can use it any time from now, no matter what the status of your relationship is moving forward. She cannot be involved in any issues that involves infidelity. Any new suspicions that may arise from your end means separation. Give her second chance but never third. Anytime she noticed someone is hitting on her, she must tell you right away early to avoid any future issues. Don't spoon feed her of what she needs to do, she should be the one who will initiate it, as well for you reconciliation. Accepted that it will never be the same even if she done all that you asked her to do to show her remorse. Story 3, I've tried so hard to make it work, but I think it's the end. We've been together nearly 20 years. We were 10 and 12 back then and have had a lot of damage along the way, but we've both always felt it made us stronger, more resistant. Then she cheated. We were semi-open, just threesomes and stuff like that, so the S-time is something I could have gotten past. It's the lying and manipulation that's killing us. She's got a pretty severe mental disorder, borderline personality disorder, which she blames for most of the things she does wrong. Lying, cheating, overly emotional, manipulation and severe mood swings are all core symptoms of the disorder, so I've been trying to be lenient, but I think I've reached the end of my rope with her. She's still lying, drinking, doing drugs, making up all sorts of stories to make herself look better to everyone else, usually at my expense. She's changed her passwords and locked her phone, which she told me I'd always be to look at for own my peace of mind after the affair. I love her to death, but I just can't handle the abuse anymore. This morning I think was just the last straw. THST broke my back. She asked me for money for WED. We're not in a financially good place, mostly because I give her whatever she wants, even if we can't afford it. I told her we just didn't have the extra money, but she tricked me into it anyway. Spent the whole morning acting all sweet, cuddling, kissing, we even had some decent S-time, but it was all just a ploy to get money for her pot. Once I gave it, she switched back to cold and mean. So I told her I had to return this expensive hair treatment I bought for her to cover the WED money. So she shaved her head, saying it's my fault because I destroyed her hair by not being able to find a good enough routine to rescue it from all her dyeing and heat damage. Now she's going to spend the next year blaming me for her hair being cut. I just don't think I can handle that anymore. Story 4, partner cheated, convinced me to let it continue. First off, I'm an open-minded person who honestly isn't opposed to real poly or open relationships, and this was used against me. There were lots of things good in our relationship that I won't focus on here, only the last few months when I believe the cheating went full swing, and the manipulation went into overdrive. I'll be referring them as P and M to clear up their actions. I am open to a lot of normally deal-breaking things in our accepted norm. The idea of a partner having someone else to have fun with isn't necessarily a bad thing, and can even be inclusive to the other in certain ways. That's my thought process behind this. My partner P started an online thing with a higher up at their job M, that was led to be S-time-ual in nature from the beginning by coyly mentioning NSFW account tied to the name when trading gaming tags. Obviously M asked for it and a persistent flirting began. For weeks after that, I saw and ignored a lot of red flags as P started to closely guard their phone and make sure that the screen was never visible to me, and make sure their computer was shut off if they had to leave their seat for even a second. Constantly close Discord chats as soon as they were finished typing. There was also a lot of missing time between when they supposedly got off of work and when they got home, and it wasn't too long after that being mentioned that the next part happened. Out of the blue I get ambushed with a question. We're in a rut, I've given second thought to it, why don't we try a no judgment open relationship, and if at any point I got uncomfortable it would stop. There was a lot of emphasis put on this being something they wanted me to try, and repeatedly kept trying to broach whether I had someone I could explore this with. Over the next 2 days the admission finally came, they had a thing with their manager. I was told it was not serious, it was only kink related, like an in-depth role play. Over the next few weeks the rift in our relationship only deepened, to the point of separating rooms. Our conversations always wound up being derailed and turned into a feel-bad session for P if I ever tried to make an effort to help or explain or apologize for my own deepening depression. Solo NSFW actions increased for P, where before intimacy was almost entirely dead, before this it was just never the right time or not in the mood. I'd been getting random gropes and reassurances that I was still attractive occasionally, but at that point my depression had killed any desire to respond to it. Lots of pictures and videos were made now that P had their own room and privacy. None of it was for me, and when that got called out there were a few sessions that I could only describe as obligatory or pity, even going so far as to make them into content for M, and it got worse. Any confrontation about the behavior was met with reassurances that I was misreading or this was new and they just didn't know how to act. An actual Earl night between P and M finally arrived, and there were a few conditions. I said before I'm an open-minded person to certain kinks, and part of it was a defense mechanism from an earlier cheating relationship. I just didn't want to be completely replaced and shut out. Send updates and a couple of pics. I was assured repeatedly that upon arrival they'd let me know they arrived safe and would send me the address in case something happened. None of those things were kept. P spent the night, and for over 9 hours I was ignored. I was given excuses instead, and then a second night over was brought up. I called it out and said that was it. I no longer trusted this situation, and if we were going to repair our relationship, M was out. No questions asked. I was reassured it would only be a friend's situation with no S-time. P took a bag of S-time toys for the friend hangout with M, and I called that out immediately, and it was admitted they had S-time that night as well. I stupidly gave one last chance at trust when P said they were going to go out drinking with friends. I said I had no problem with that. Right after they left and assumed I wouldn't see, they quickly came back inside, grabbed the bag with the toys and got into M's SUV. I called and said that was it was over. I was accused of blindsiding and saying one thing and doing another, that I said they could go hang out with friends, and getting called out like that meant it was a lie. I said unless whatever was going on with M stopped entirely until we had talked things out, we wouldn't even be friends anymore. 2 months later P has all but moved out. They only come back to do laundry, and no attempt had been made at having a serious conversation since, but I had made an effort to at least not only keep things civil but bring back some of the easier banter. I wasn't totally being avoided, but it was still clear that serious conversation was not going to happen. Last week I was out checking the mail late. Sometimes I work nights and I stay up at night anyway since depression has made it hard to function at normal hours. I always survey my surroundings, I have sharp vision, and I notice things like people sitting in cars in the dark. I saw P and already basically knew they were doing, but just in case they had barely been home and just hadn't come inside yet, I went over to walk with them inside if that's where they were going. At night P would either talk on the phone until they were safely inside, or I would walk with them. It had been that way for years. The expression I was met with was obvious distrust. P was immediately defensive when I tried to ask how things had been and where they had been, because for 2 months now I was given nothing. I didn't know if their parents knew we were broken up. I didn't know if they had just been living with M the entire time. P rushed the conversation and said they wanted me gone before M arrived. No confrontation. I walked away after M arrived without a word. I haven't responded to a word from P since. They had said something about seeing a therapist on Friday, but at this point it was another blame-shifting thing for me to completely ignore what's been going on with me and instead focus on their well-being when absolutely no effort has been made in months to see if I'm even okay. At this point I don't think I am. I don't think I'll ever trust anyone romantically again. 15 consecutive years of emotional manipulation ending in cheating and abandonment. How can I possibly believe in it? Marking this as NSFW for mentioning kinks and S-time. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1. They are APS, don't waste another second with them. Go North Carolina and work on yourself. Therapy, some sort of exercise, maybe a change on how you look, different haircut, different color. They will keep bringing up therapy whenever they notice you're actually slipping away. Don't give them the satisfaction of having a hold on your emotions. What's up with the house situation? Answer: I've actually taken a lot of time away from work to de-stress. Money is far from an issue right now. My job is basically all exercise, so I'm actually in great shape. Can't fix bald, but I gotcha. House situation is about as bad as it gets. 3rd month into a year-long lease that I can't easily afford a loan and can't break without screwing up my rental history. Right now I basically made this post as my final deep breath and let go. Thank you so much for responding. Redditor 2, don't put up with that. Leave and go North Carolina. Don't even say anything, just leave. Take back your power and put yourself first. Answer: North Carolina is definitely happening, riding out the lease however until I move so I don't put a mark on my rental history before attempting to get a house. Not the mentally healthiest thing I could be doing, but I'll survive until then. Redditor 3, well, for your lease problems, if I remember correctly, there are some legal reasons that allows you to break your lease, like moving for a job or health reasons that prevent you from living there. I don't know, maybe dog allergy if your neighbor has a dog for example, or sometime you can pay a penalty fee or stuff like that. But don't take my word for it, make some research, read your contract etc. and move out ASAP. Answer: lease problems being what they are, I want that 2 years rental history combined with the 7 years prior so no one will even question giving me a mortgage or approving an application. 9 months is a small price to pay instead of creating a headache of housing uncertainty in this economy. But I get it, I really do, and believe me, if it was simple and cheap enough I'd have already kicked her out. Redditor 4, have you called their HR department? Answer: I'm definitely not doing that, considering that would affect my living situation without her having a job to help me pay the rent here. What they're doing is extremely screwed up and will eventually bite them in the ass when someone decides they don't care for their attitude one day, but I'm not about to shoulder this entire rent by myself unless F2. I technically can both afford this place on my own or call the hammer down on her, but it will be disastrous for my ability to save money to move into someplace better and not just keep apartment hopping. She's already screwing up her life, I don't need to help.